The world is getting a look at Travis Kelce's new life after marrying Taylor Swift. With fame, security, and non-stop attention at an all-time high, the NFL star is facing major changes behind the scenes. What he's doing to protect his privacy as part of the world's biggest power couple is what I break down in this video. Let's start with the night everything became official. On the evening of July 3rd, black SUVs with tinted windows rolled up outside Madison Square Garden, one after another, for hours. Fans had been camped outside since morning in the heat, just waiting. Nobody could see inside. Swifties stood outside MSG for hours amid rising temperatures, as black SUVs with tinted windows carrying guests made their way into the curtained-off arena, and celebrities like Ethan Hawke, Hugh Grant, and Benson Boone could be spotted arriving to the star-studded party. Then the signs lit up pink. As the night went on, tired fans suddenly saw pink lights flash. Justin T. married. Signs surrounding Madison Square Garden read. A press release went out almost the exact same moment, almost too perfectly. A news release confirming the nuptials was sent out as rain started pouring, and a sense of calm enveloped the area. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift were married. Officially, legally, in front of 1,000 people. Here's who actually did the honors. To officiate their wedding, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce pulled in comedian and actor Adam Sandler, a longtime friend who has previously gushed over the pair's relationship. Standing next to them at the altar wasn't a typical bridal party either. Swift and Kelce opted to forego traditional bridesmaids or groomsmen. Instead, Austin Swift, her brother, and Jason Kelce, his brother, served as man of honor and best man, respectively, and stood alongside the couple at the altar. Travis's own brother had already had Travis stand up for him at his wedding years earlier, and now the roles flipped. The guest list read like an awards show green room. Roughly 1,000 people showed up, and reporters spent days just cataloging who walked through those doors. The wedding took place on July 3, 2026 at Madison Square Garden in Manhattan, attended by about 1,000 friends and colleagues of the couple, including a plethora of prominent celebrities and public figures from music, film, television, sports. An intimate rehearsal dinner had happened the night before. An intimate rehearsal dinner took place on July 2, 2026, with 100 guests at the Infosys Theater, followed by an extravagant wedding ceremony on the arena floor on July 3. What Travis wore mattered too, because this was fashion coverage as much as sports coverage. Someone who actually got a peek inside described the couple's look before it was scrubbed from the internet. AMC's CEO posted, then deleted, a description calling headlined by handsome Travis in a white tux and a jaw-dropping Taylor in a stunning white wedding dress with a long veiled train. Christian Dior Haute Couture built both looks, with Jonathan Anderson designing them, and the shoes came from Christian Louboutin. Swift wore Cartier jewelry. Now, here's the moment that actually got people talking days later. Not the ceremony, the reception. Somebody from the Beatles showed up to perform. Paul McCartney performed I Want to Hold Your Hand for the first time in 62 years, according to reports. Guests described a room that felt smaller than its size. An arena turned into a living room. One person close to the day told NBC something that flipped the whole blushing bride script. Reports say it was actually Travis who got choked up more than Taylor during the vows, which surprised even people standing right there. And Travis himself opened up about all of it days later, back on his own turf. The podcast that made this whole relationship public in the first place. On the New Heights season finale, recorded after the wedding, but timed for release once the news broke, he looked back on the moment he actually got down on one knee, months before any of this. In the episode, the show's season 4 finale featuring NFL star Tom Brady, Kelce reflected on asking Swift to be his wife after she appeared on the show. He admitted the whole thing was calculated from the start. During that recording, the entire time I'm planning, like I'm gonna ask this woman to marry me after this, he said. So that's the wedding. But a wedding is one night. The marriage is what comes after. And that's where his life actually starts looking different than it did a year ago. Because being married to Taylor Swift doesn't just mean a new last name on paperwork. It means his houses, his schedule, his podcast, and even his football career now run through a completely different filter. Before we get to what married life looks like, you have to understand what it replaced. Because up until literally months before the wedding, these two weren't even sharing an address. That's not a small detail. That's the actual texture of what dating a global pop star while playing in the NFL requires. Reports from earlier in the engagement period made this explicit. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce may have forever on the horizon, but the power couple still wasn't officially living together under one roof, according to sources. It wasn't for lack of closeness. It came down to logistics on a scale most couples never have to deal with. Taylor's got homes in NYC, Rhode Island, Beverly Hills, and Nashville, while Travis holds it down in Kansas City. So when they're with each other, sure, it's one roof, but still no keys with both their names on them. Think about that for a second. 4 cities for her, 1 for him. And the reason wasn't romantic hesitation, it was math. The constant jet setting for the power couple makes a 24/7 shared roof pretty unrealistic for all 365 days of the year. And someday they'll snag a place together, but for now, that's not topping the priority list. So where does Travis actually live, and what does it look like? His Kansas home isn't some modest bachelor pad. It's the exact property where the engagement itself happened. The moment took place at Kelce's $6 million, 17,000 square foot Leadwood, Kansas property that sits on 3 acres of land. This isn't a house you'd call cozy. It features 6 bedrooms and 10 bathrooms, a 2-level movie theater room, a bar, a wine cellar, a resort-style pool with a waterfall, a pickleball court, and a miniature golf course. Picture the actual proposal happening there. Not in some rented ballroom, but in his own backyard, with flowers everywhere. Travis Kelce popped the question to Taylor Swift in a beautiful flower setting, which was later revealed to be in the backyard of his Kansas home. And it almost didn't go off without a hitch. His own father spilled a detail that undercuts the polished Instagram version everyone saw. Kelce's dad revealed that the flower people weren't quite ready for them, and actually were hiding in the bushes during the whole thing. That's the house Travis calls home base. That's where he trains, where he unwinds after games, where his dogs probably have the run of the property. And now, married. That Leadwood house sits alongside a rotating cast of Taylor's other properties. The Rhode Island coastal estate, the Nashville place tied to her music career, the Beverly Hills home, and whatever she's got going in New York. So does marriage change the who lives where math? Not immediately, and not completely. What it changes is the why. Before the wedding, not living together was framed as a scheduling problem. Now married, the couple still has to navigate his NFL season, practices, home games at Arrowhead, road trips against her recording schedule, tour commitments, and whatever press tour her next album demands. A wedding ring doesn't erase either calendar. What we do know is that Travis's life since the wedding still orbits Kansas City in the fall because he's still playing football there, a detail we'll get into shortly. And what changed isn't necessarily the geography, it's the way each stop on that map now gets treated by the public. When Taylor shows up in Kansas City now, it's not girlfriend visits boyfriend's game. It's a wife supporting her husband. When Travis shows up at one of her shows, it's not the boyfriend in a suite anymore. It's the husband, on record, permanently tied to her name in every write-up from here forward. And that shift shows up in small human ways too. The two of them getting photographed, doing ordinary couple things that now read differently because of the ring and the paperwork. They were spotted together at NBA playoff games in the weeks leading up to the wedding, sitting courtside like any other pair of 30-something professionals unwinding after a long year. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce attended Game 3 between the New York Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals at Rocket Arena in Cleveland, Ohio, just weeks before they were legally married. It's basketball, it's mundane, but it's also two people building an actual shared life, one public appearance at a time, in between the tour dates and training camps. That mundane stuff, the normal couple stuff, is actually the through line here, because everything so far has been about the spectacle, the wedding, the arena, the McCartney performance. But underneath the spectacle, there's a genuinely ordinary question two newlyweds ask each other every single year. Where do we actually build a life? And for Travis and Taylor, that question doesn't have an answer yet. It's still being written, season by season, tour by tour. Marriage doesn't pause a career, and Travis Kelce's post-wedding schedule proves that better than almost anything else. Within days of tying the knot, he was back behind a microphone, doing the thing that actually built this entire relationship in public in the first place. His podcast with his brother. Here's the thing about New Heights. It's not just a hobby project. It's the reason any of us know the friendship bracelet story, the reason we know how the proposal actually went down. And it's now become one of the most watched pieces of content the couple produces. Jason Kelce said as much on air. New Heights co-host Jason Kelce, Travis's brother, said, It's by far our most viewed episode of all time. And Travis didn't dodge questions about the wedding on that episode either. He went back through the whole emotional arc of the proposal, the recording session, the moment right after, the nerves. In the episode, the show's season 4 finale, featuring NFL star Tom Brady, Kelce reflected on asking Swift to be his wife, saying, "During that recording, the entire time I'm planning, I'm gonna ask this woman to marry me after this." He called that stretch of his life one he'd hold on to forever. "Obviously, the beginning of it, with Taylor, is one I'll remember forever," he added. But right after that finale, something interesting happened. The show basically stopped. After that season finale episode, which featured Tom Brady as a guest, New Heights went on hiatus until September, while Kelce takes some much-needed post-wedding rest and prepares for the upcoming NFL season. That's a real window into what his life actually looks right now. Not endless press, not a non-stop victory lap, but an intentional pullback. Rest, recovery, preparation for a season that matters more than most. There's a detail buried in that same reporting that's worth sitting with. A guest at the ceremony telling reporters that Travis, not Taylor, was the emotional one on the actual day. It was actually him that was more emotional. A guest at the July 3 nuptials told NBC News, adding, "You would think the bride would be the one crying more." That's not the image people had of Travis Kelce 5 years ago, the guy known mostly for spiking footballs and yelling on sidelines. Marriage, publicly at least, has softened how he gets talked about. Beyond the podcast, his business ventures haven't slowed down either. If anything, the wedding turned into rocket fuel for his brand. Right after the engagement went public, a major retailer moved fast to capitalize on the moment. Shortly after his engagement with Swift, American Eagle announced a partnership with the chief star, describing the collection as reflecting Kelce's live-to-play philosophy, created in collaboration with Kelce's True Colors brand, which he launched in 2019. He's also been building a life outside of football and outside of music entirely, dabbling in entertainment in ways that suggest he's thinking about what comes after his playing days end. In recent years, Kelce has also tried his hand in the entertainment industry, having hosted Saturday Night Live and Amazon's Are You Smarter Than a Celebrity, and appeared in Happy Gilmore 2 alongside Adam Sandler and in Ryan Murphy's Grotesquerie. That Adam Sandler connection isn't a coincidence, by the way. It's the same friendship that put Sandler at the altar as officiant. These aren't just random celebrity acquaintances. They're the people Travis and Taylor actually spend time with. Cast members from a movie becoming wedding guests becoming the people who marry you. And there's a philanthropic layer to all of this that got less attention than the dress or the guest list, but says a lot about how the two of them are choosing to use this platform together. Right around the wedding news breaking, reports surfaced about a massive joint donation. The wedding confirmation comes on the heels of the duo donating $26 million to 20 local and national charities across the U.S., with funds split across children's hospitals, food banks, and music programs in places with personal ties to the pair, including New York, Kansas City, Nashville, and Rhode Island. That's not a one-off gesture either. Taylor's had a running relationship with Kansas City, causes stretching back to before the engagement even happened, tied directly to Travis's world. On Feb 16, 2024, Swift donated $100,000 to a GoFundMe for the family of Lisa Lopez Galvin, who was killed in the shooting at the Chiefs' Super Bowl victory rally. She's shown up at children's hospitals in the city too. The day before her birthday, Swift visited Children's Mercy Hospital, giving gifts to patients, and at Christmas she donated $250,000 to Operation Breakthrough, a nonprofit connected to both her and Kelce. So the picture that emerges from the business and philanthropy side of Travis's life right now isn't just a guy who got married to a famous person. It's a guy actively building out a portfolio, clothing line, podcast empire, film and TV cameos, charitable giving tied to two different cities that both feel like home to him now. Marriage accelerated all of it. It didn't create it, but it definitely turned up the volume. Here's where things get complicated, because Travis Kelce didn't retire the day he got married. He went right back to the one part of his life that existed long before Taylor Swift ever showed up in a suite at Arrowhead. Professional football in Kansas City, entering a season that could be his last. This wasn't a guaranteed outcome. There'd been real chatter that this marriage might be the off-ramp for his NFL career. Sports analysts were floating it publicly months before the wedding even happened. Sports analyst Stephen A. Smith told People magazine that Kelce may retire at the end of the football season. and focus on his relationship with Swift, saying he expected the tight end to be back after the previous Super Bowl loss because he wouldn't want to end his career like that. Smith went further, laying out the case for stepping away entirely. The guy is so talented, and there are so many other things that he could do outside of football that now would be the time for him to step away. Travis didn't take that advice. He went back to the building. Now, he looks ahead to his 14th season in the NFL, having re-signed with the Kansas City Chiefs after mulling retirement once again. That's not a small decision for a guy in his mid-30s, married to a woman whose schedule doesn't exactly need him grinding through training camp in the summer heat. Part of the reason he came back isn't romantic. It's about unfinished business. The team he spent his whole career with just had a rough stretch. 2025 was a disappointment for the Chiefs, and they are likely hoping to get back to the Super Bowl in what could be Kelce's final year, after going 6-11 in 2025 and missing the playoffs for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era. That's not the ending Travis wants attached to his name. A Hall of Fame caliber career doesn't need a losing season as its last chapter. And on the podcast, he's been pretty candid about the mindset behind returning, even discussing teammates' injuries with the same competitive detachment that's defined his whole career, talking about quarterback Patrick Mahomes tearing his ACL. Travis sounded less like a guy planning his exit and more like a guy locked into one more run. Hopefully the Chiefs can get him back as soon as possible, Travis Kelce said, sounding almost indifferent. I know right now it's kind of right around that week 1 or the beginning of the season next year. He added, I know he's going to be doing everything he can to get back out on that field for the Chiefs as soon as possible. His brother Jason, who's already retired from his own playing career, weighed in with something that low-key sums up where Travis's head is at, treating every remaining season like it might be the last dance for this specific roster. I always thought similar to what you're saying, Trav, Jason Kelce said. Like, we only got 3 weeks left of this year's team to play football. Like, next year it's gonna look different, right? Guys are gonna be back. Guys aren't gonna be back. That quote matters because it frames exactly what married life looks like for Travis right now. Not a guy who walked away from football to chase a quieter existence with his new wife, but a guy trying to squeeze one more real shot at a championship out of a locker room that's aging around him. He said it himself plainly about what the sport still means to him. Travis Kelce said that playing football in the NFL was him living out his dream. So picture his actual week during the season, now that he's married. Monday and Tuesday, film study and recovery. Wednesday through Friday, practice at the Chiefs facility. Saturday, travel or home prep. Sunday, an NFL game in front of 70,000 plus fans, with cameras cutting to his wife in a suite the second he so much as looks toward the stands. That routine hasn't changed since the wedding. If anything, the cameras just got more aggressive about capturing every glance between the two of them. And Taylor's presence at those games isn't new either. It's just now got a different legal weight behind it. Her first ever appearance at one of his games happened years before any of this. 4 days after Jason Kelce confirmed the relationship publicly, on Sept 24, Swift attended her first Chiefs game at Arrowhead Stadium, a matchup against the Chicago Bears, and Travis would say the day that went perfect. That single appearance set off a commercial shockwave nobody saw coming. Swift's appearance set off an immediate commercial response. A local clothing company launched an In My Red Era collection the following day, and Kelce jersey sales jumped 400% within 2 days of her first appearance in the stands. Now imagine that same energy, except she's not the girlfriend in the suite anymore. She's his wife. Every camera cut, every jersey sale spike, every "she showed up to support him" headline now carries the weight of an actual marriage behind it. Not just a relationship people were still debating was serious. That's the shift football brought to this whole story. Not a change in behavior, just a change in stakes. So as training camp opens and this season gets underway, Travis Kelce is doing something a lot of newly married men do. Going right back to the job. It just happens that his job is playing tight end for an NFL franchise while his wife is arguably the most famous musician alive. And the two of them are trying to figure out what a normal Tuesday looks like in between all of that. So what does a life look like when you're this famous, this newly married, and still trying to figure out basic things like where you'll actually live? Right now, for Travis, the honest answer is complicated, but stable in the ways that matter. The honeymoon itself is a good example of how even the most private parts of married life get put on hold for a couple this visible. Rather than disappearing off the grid the way most newlyweds might, reports indicate the couple's honeymoon plans got delayed. between his football obligations picking back up and her own schedule. An extended trip away from cameras and commitments simply hasn't happened yet the way people expected. That's not a crisis. It's just the reality of two careers that don't pause for anyone, marriage or not. What has happened is a genuine settling into a rhythm. Travis still has his Kansas home, the same one where he got down on one knee in a backyard full of flowers with the arrangement crew hiding in the bushes. Taylor still has her scattered properties across the country. The two of them are still figuring out logistics that most married couples solve in their 20s with a single lease. But what's different now, post-wedding, is that neither of them is treating that lack of a single shared address as some kind of relationship red flag. It's just what their life requires, at least for this season of it, literally and figuratively. The football part of his life is entering its own kind of climax. This could be his final year in a Chiefs uniform, chasing a Super Bowl to close out a career that's already Hall of Fame worthy. Every game this fall carries extra weight because of that. And every time Taylor's face shows up in the stands, it's not just a girlfriend supporting her guy anymore. It's a wife on record, tied to him through vows exchanged in front of 1,000 people, and a Beatles singing a song that hadn't been performed live in over 6 decades. The podcast will come back in the fall, once training camp settles in and the rest period he's clearly using right now wraps up. When it does, expect more of what we already got a taste of: Travis being unusually candid about his own emotions, cracking jokes about crying more than his wife did on the actual wedding day, and treating the whole marriage with the same mix of humor and sincerity that's made that show connect with millions of people in the first place. The brand deals, the charity work, the acting cameos, all of that keeps rolling too. If the pattern from the last 2 years holds, expect more collaborations like the American Eagle partnership, more surprise appearances in projects tied to friends like Sandler, and more quiet, less publicized donations to causes tied to both Kansas City and whatever city Taylor's focused on that month. And underneath all of it, there's still just two people who met because a tight end got turned away from handing over a friendship bracelet outside a stadium, and who ended up building an entire shared life out of that rejection. The wedding was the headline. The marriage, the actual day-to-day version of it, the houses, the podcast hiatus, the football season, the delayed honeymoon. That's the part that's still being written. One Sunday game and one album cycle at a time. That's the life Travis Kelce is living right now. Not a fairy tale frozen at the altar, but a genuinely full, occasionally chaotic, still in progress marriage between a guy who plays football for a living and a woman who fills stadiums with her voice. 2 schedules, several houses, and 1 ring, trying to make it all fit together.